Hey, everybody. Welcome back to my IT 299 and 297 Spring 2026 intern interviews. Today here, I'm talking with Josh Gorrell. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So for anybody who wants a connection, a couple weeks ago, I talked to your brother, Nathan. So we're going to have some overlapping here on stuff. But just to throw out there, did I have two Gorrells and were they related? Yes, they happen to have been related. Yeah.
You might have three.
Oh, okay. Yep. Stay tuned to the future. So I always like to talk to people about their trajectory into IT, what got them into it, maybe as a kid, maybe in high school, that type of thing, how you landed here, advice you would have along the way. So my first question is typically, when did the technology bug bite you and in what form did it take?
Well, I started very young. I was into video games. I always dabbled in computers and PCs and taking them apart and putting them back together. And I always wanted to know why and how. That was always the two questions: why this worked, how that worked. So my path went a little different before. When I graduated high school, I went straight into the working field and became an electrician. Okay. So I was an electrician for a couple of years, out there in that heat and the rain and weather.
Did you manage to do like any classes at a career and technical center or vocational school for that, or did you just come in and say, I want to do this? Can I be like what they call it, a journeyman, basically?
Yeah. So I actually went to the trade school, which is PCTC in Putnam County, and so I did that. Finished the 2-year program there, then went out to the workforce right away. It was a good career path for people who like to do that kind of stuff, but it was not for me. So I did a lot of research while I was working to figure out what I really wanted to do. And, even while I was working out, I still wanted to go through, and I was, putting computers together and doing all kinds of Windows stuff. And I was like, you know what? That'd be a cool career path to go to. And that's what I did. I ended up deciding to go back to school. And here I am.
So I'm curious, having known a little bit about the PCTC stuff, I know they have both high school classes and adult classes. So did you do your electrician stuff when you were in high school, or did you stay after and do it as an adult?
I stayed after and did it as an adult.
Gotcha.
And it was, like I said, and it had the high school kids mixed together too as well.
Sure.
But we were it was like morning was the kids and then the afternoon was the adults.
I was more wondering whether you were, I was kind of trying to figure out was he 18 and then working, or was he more like 19, 20 and then working? And then how long were you in that before you were like, okay, I want to figure out something else? How long were you?
6 years.
6 years, okay.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of side jobs. Then I actually joined the union, and I worked there for about 3.5 years. I was so close to becoming a journeyman before I decided I couldn't see myself doing this for 30 plus years, for retirement. Sure. So
gotcha.
I took a leap, and here I am.
Gotcha. So you decided, I don't want to be an electrician.
Yep.
I want to look for something else. You were looking at technology, looking at IT. How did you find out about us? How did you land on us?
Well, my mom is actually a teacher, and she teaches at Bridge Valley, which again is over.
Sure.
So she gave me some ideas, kind of threw them out, and I was looking at Bridge Valley at the start at their IT program, and then I kind of just did my own research and was like, it was between these two schools, Mount West and Bridge Valley, and I don't know, I just had this urge, and I did the research on not really graduation, because everyone has their numbers fluctuate, whatever.
Sure.
But for me, I just decided to go to Mount West. I just picked it.
Gotcha. And then when you decided to come here, how did you land on administration?
So I actually started in all of them. I don't know if you remember it correctly. I actually did all, or I guess it's two, but then there was that third one. I guess it's the middle.
There's a third one that's kind of like a foot in Cisco and a foot in Microsoft. Yeah. Yes.
Because I did not know which side I wanted to go into.
Fair enough.
So I took all these courses at once, and then I finally came to the decision that networking and administration was more of my speed.
Okay. So here you are at the end of your 2 years in the administration option. Is there advice you would have for people based on where you are now, looking back on what you wish you would have done, that type of thing, tips, tricks that you could give them, make their journey more smooth or as smooth as yours was?
Okay, so I will say I would highly recommend for everybody When those free tests to be able to take like your Azure 900 or whatever the CompTIA, all of those, when they're free, you need to take those. Take them. Take advantage of it. I did not because I didn't feel comfortable enough, and I didn't want to just fail. Just take it just to fail. But if you study and actually take the time, take those tests. That's what I recommend.
I agree. I think when people are presented, I just posted this on Facebook the other day. When people are presented with the ability to go ahead and sit for a certification, if they're given a voucher and it lasts for a year and they don't use it, I often hear, "I was just afraid I was going to fail."
Yeah.
To which I say, "Well, you didn't take the test, so guess what? You already failed.
That's true.
You didn't even try."
Right.
I think I posted on Facebook, if you don't try, you already failed as it is. So.
And isn't there a saying too? I don't know if it's someone can correct me. It's you miss 100% of shots you don't take.
Yeah, I think Wayne Gretzky said something like that. Yes, exactly. But and on the flip side, they say failure is success training. You don't know what you're going to miss if you don't take the test and find out where you need to study. Like I've failed exams before, but then I was like, oh, I didn't feel confident about this section, and I would go back there and study up on the section, and then I would pass it the next time.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have known if I didn't do it.
That's right.
You gotta put your foot forward there and do it. So you already were an electrician, so I already know you had a job, obviously. Mm-hmm. I know that if I have my story correct, Nathan talked about working now at Mardi Gras up in Charleston, the old Tri-State Greyhound Park, same place there, casino now. He said that he took over your position.
Yep.
So your first IT job was there. Is that correct?
Yep. At Mardi Gras Casino.
So can you? I was very fascinated when he was telling us about it. Like I was like, "Oh, tell me about what it's like working IT in a casino." And he goes, "Well, I just started a little while ago. Ask Josh. He'll be able to tell you a lot more." Yeah. So Josh, what's it like working IT in a casino?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was very interesting as my first job. It was very fast paced because obviously it's a 24/7. They're always open. It's troubleshooting everything. You're dealing with everything from the hotel, because it has a hotel as well. So they're, from their internet to their computers to anything over there. Like they have their cash drawers and everything. You're
point of sale,
point of sale, anything and everything that goes from the hotel to the casino itself, you're dealing with, and the security system as well. So you're doing all of that. So it was a wide range. I was able to touch a little bit of everything in this job, and it was very, very, like I said, very quick paced. I mean, you're going from one place to the other, just trying to learn. And
I think he told me that it's in my mind, he goes, you need to realize it's a little bit segmented. Like you don't get to touch everything. Like there's probably due to regulations and stuff, like casino regulations, stuff like that. There's things that are off limits for you that a whole different team does, that type of thing. Correct?
Yes. Yeah. So in this position, it is an entry level position. So they don't really expect you to know, everything that there is out there. But so that's why they segment it from, you got like a network team that does all the networking side. You'll have like a security side that does all your like protections and all that. And then you got us. And we're the ones that are kind of like the in between. We make the tickets for them. We kind of go through and make sure we diagnose as much as we can, and then we escalate if we have to. So.
Were you you mentioned security. And my mind fell on CCTVs, but I'm guessing that wasn't you all. Like you all probably weren't the cameras.
No,
that was the security team.
Yeah, cybersecurity stuff actually.
Gotcha.
In fact, and then the security side, they have a surveillance team for that as well. So they deal with all the installing of the new cameras or that kind of stuff. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
I had an interview a while back with a guy who was working at Digit 3. And so he mentioned that he really loved the hardware stuff. Like he's like, I got to install TVs and stuff. He's like, I like that way more. So based on you getting to play with all this stuff, did you find you leaned more towards the software or the hardware side, or you just liked it all?
I liked it all. I like both the software and like I said, it's all proprietary. It was all just for Mardi Gras. So you learned everything from them, right? But it was a lot of the software was just for them. There was nowhere else. But it was still cool to learn because you kind of get, you learn one program. It might not be the same, but it might be run the same.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it was very neat. It was very cool. I enjoyed all of it.
So you were there I know, spoiler alert, he told me that he took over your position. So that leads me to believe that you're either got a different position or you're in a different place now. So, by the way, along those lines, that being your first IT job out of electrician, did you have any preconceived notions of what it would be like to work in IT? Were those different? What was your take going into an IT job?
To be fair, it was a casino. So, I mean, I had no expectations of what I was going to get myself into.
Okay.
It was different from what, I've learned here in school, from what we've gone through. Like, the stuff's there. Like, I mean, everything that's there that we were learning in school, but the environment's just different, right?
Well, you also said, like, so much of this software was written specifically for them.
Just for them.
So then how in the world would we be able to teach that exact niche software? Yeah. So I get it, Yeah,
so, like, stuff like Active Directory, that stuff's there. We dealt with that. Intune, we did Intune and Azure. We did Intro. We did all that stuff as well. Of course, we didn't have, like, admin rights or like the full, but we're able to access it and still do things as well.
I mean, as a guy walking in almost as an intern, they're not going to give you the keys to the castle.
Of course not.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But so you did that. Where are you at now?
So now I work for Quality Insights. They are a contractor for the VA. So I do service desk work. So I do Intune, Intra, setting up provisioning new laptops for like new users. Mostly it's nurses and doctors in the VA. That's who we work for.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that sounds to be the sweet spot, I would think, the administration. You did a lot of deployment in my classes. You did a lot of Active Directory, did a lot of, not so much a lot of Intune, but we talked about a lot of Azure stuff. So were there pieces you brought from Mardi Gras that worked out there for you, or was a lot of your knowledge from here?
I would say probably majority is from here. Because again, a lot of that stuff was proprietary over there. But for my classes, like the classes here, I learned mostly the stuff that I'm doing now from school.
Is there advice you would give to people who haven't had an IT job yet? Things you think make a lot of sense, maybe things you saw around where you were like, oh, that person should be doing this X, Y, and Z, that you would let them know on how they could have a leg up when they start doing an IT internship?
That's a good question. Honestly, I have to think about that. Can we go to the next one maybe? I can't think of that one. I'll think about that one.
Okay. Is there, I suppose in that case, in general, is there advice that I haven't asked you about that you think somebody out there should know about? Anything you thought, I want to make sure I talk to the students about this today, something they should know? Okay,
so customer service I think is like one of the most important things, especially I feel like in our field. A lot of people don't think that. They're like, I'm worried about fixing a problem or whatever, but customer service I think is, and that's been like one of my go-to things is customer service, and being able to talk to people like about a certain issue or troubleshooting something with them, someone who does not have any experience in computer at all. So being able to talk to their level and things that you might know. So having that ability to talk to somebody, I think is very important. I think that's almost, in my opinion, as valuable as actually knowing your stuff.
That leads me back to a question I completely missed, which is, we always like to talk about cultural intelligence. Talking about the fact that you are an IT guy, at as a contractor for the VA or at a casino, you were having to help somebody on the phone fix a problem that they called you as the expert to figure it out. So can you talk about, even though you're of the IT culture and they're not, how do you communicate on their level? How do you calm them, reassure them, get them through their problem? Advice you would have along those lines. What do you do?
Well, to be fair, I do kind of have like a cheat sheet.
Okay.
I have a 6-year-old. So having a kid really helped me to, I guess you could say, have that patience and understanding of they don't know, you need to teach them, right? So that I take that mindset. Anyone that calls that's like, frustrated, like this is not working, this is, blah, 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 or whatever. I take that mindset of they just don't know. Let's teach them. So I always would take that soft, patient approach, and that's literally how it's always worked for me, and it's worked really well. I mean, like I said, my job now, a lot of them are nurses or doctors, and they're great at what they do. They know what they're doing.
Right.
But the problem is when it comes to technology, they do not, because again, that's not their profession. So you got to understand that yes, they might have masters, they might have PhDs or whatever it might be. they're technically, I guess you could say, toddlers, and when it comes to the IT field.
Right. I mean, I regularly tell people, and I was just talking with Brittany about it, like they have master's degrees, they have doctorate degrees, but they learned how to do, knee surgery.
Yeah.
They learned how to do open heart surgery. I don't know that because I studied a whole different thing. So they're an expert in their field. And the same way that I wouldn't come to you and ask you to operate on my knee, I'd come to them as an expert and trust their opinion. They're trusting you from an IT standpoint for your opinion. So you just need to not be like, what are you, stupid? Like, this is how you do it. Yeah. You need to understand that they're looking at you as the professional. Yeah. And the main goal is the same way if you went to a doctor and you're like, I just want to make sure that I'm better after this. Yeah. They also want to make sure that they're better on the technology side after this. They're relying on you. So that's a good point. Anybody out there have any questions and stuff here for Josh today out there on Zoom? I noticed here I do already have some questions lined up here. I appreciate that. First off, your brother's chiming in. Mm-hmm. Rate the casino job from 1 to 10. He said, I'll give it a 9.2.
I would give it a 9.2 as well. Either 9. I'll go with 9.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty, like I said, I think it's perfect for entry level.
So, this is kind of like a rating your babies type situation here. But tell me about your current job, or actually tell me about the things you enjoy more about your current job than what you had at the casino. Was there anything?
Well, I'll tell you right now. Well, at the casino, I was working every weekend.
Oh.
So that's, depending on if you have kids or not, that's kind of, but my job now, I only work 3 days out of the week at the office. I work from home another 2.
There's a lot of nice fringe benefits along those lines.
So I'm working a hybrid remote position that I have every weekend off.
Gotcha.
So it's,
That makes sense. Rodney here asked a question. Mm-hmm. How different was it going from being in a more public setting like the casino than shifting towards government-style contracts, and do you find it difficult to adjust?
So that's a really good question, actually. That's really good. I would say the adjustment, it's not really that big of a difference, because in reality, in the IT, in Mardi Gras, you're not really the I guess you could say the customer side, which is where everyone's going and gambling or whatever else might be.
You're not a dealer.
You're not dealing with that. You're more or less just fixing problems. But the problems, if you ever go into the field to fix, a lot of those times the operations are not as busy. You're not really I guess you could say, talking to that many people face to face. You're just going in, fixing a problem, going back, answering calls, kind of like you would at a help desk. It's the same, except instead of it being, an office and you're answering phone calls and then you're having to talk a problem, you actually answer phone calls and you go to the problem at that place. But
so my assumption is the question may have it reversed, because I'm thinking, so you're at the casino and one of the slot machines breaks down and you need to go work on it.
Yeah.
When you walk on the floor where there's all these people walking around, you're not talking to this customer. Nope. You're heading straight for that machine and you're fixing the machine.
And then you go.
So you're very isolated.
Yeah.
Whereas I would think now on the flip side, potentially working for the VA, you are talking to doctors. You are talking to the people that are out there, boots on the ground. So it's probably a more public talking situation with them now than it was before, right?
Yeah, and a lot more interactions with people, exactly. Because like you said, you'll get phone calls, short interactions. Something's down, you'll create a ticket, you'll go out there and fix it. That's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. But as in with the quality insights, I'm more from the start to finish with this person,
right?
Fixing the problem. And in the call and in the ticket and everything. So.
Yeah. So the human element is actually way more in your second job. I mean, it sounds like it'd be different. You're like, your casinos, lots of people around, but no, you're not fixing the people. You're fixing the slot machine.
Fixing the slot.
Yeah, but now here you are having to deal with someone's personal laptop, or their not their personal laptop, but their office laptop, and there's a person tied to that, where there was no person tied to that slot machine type of thing. No. So, yeah, okay, that's good. Is there any? So me thinking about that, is there any memorable moments so far in what you've been doing? Is there anything where you're like, Patrick was just talking about that last week type of thing that you've got at your new place, or coincidences where like, I just solved this ticket and 2 minutes later somebody else called and I was able to just knock that one out too.
Now, when you mentioned that, when you're talking about like instances of things that you've mentioned before, and I keep hitting the mic.
That's fine.
But, I remember, I forgot which class we had together, but I remember we used to talk a lot. It was AD related. And, about the forests and, all that. And we were, we're not allowed to touch that far into it.
Sure.
But I still remember, I can't remember if it was a joke you made. I can't remember if it was the forest and tree. I can't remember what it was. But I still remember this conversation that you and our class had. And every day when I go into AD, I still remember that. And I can't remember the joke. I cannot remember it.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about things along those lines.
Yeah.
But the forest is shaped. It looks, anyone who's played Legend of Zelda, it looks like the Triforce of Power because it's 3 triangles all touching each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but then also you can't see the forest for the domain trees. Like you've got all kinds of domain trees. So, but yeah. And the stuff we get to talk about in class, we get to talk about it from you being an intern all the way to being God of the network. You're the admin. So once you work your way up there, then you'll be able to touch that. But even really normal domain admins or enterprise admins, it's not every day they pop in there and do all that stuff. But you need to know how to do it just in case, the time comes, kind of a break glass situation. So that's good. Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming in, talking to us about your trajectory. I find working for a casino fascinating. So thanks for indulging me on all the questions and stuff. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.